Are you stuck in a rut? Trust me, you're not alone. According to a recent research study, as many as 80% of Americans feel like they're stuck in a rut. This, of course, can vary from being trapped in a deep depression to just feeling like your life is boring and you need to switch things up. Full disclaimer, this video is not a substitute for counseling. If you find yourself in a deep depression, please seek the help that you need. For everybody else, please hang tight, fasten your seatbelt, and grab a notepad as I'll go through 3 things you can do right now that will help you get off the couch and get out of a rut. But first, let me share a little example of how I found myself stuck in a rut. I've been pretty productive most of my life. Before I even moved to the United States, I graduated with top honors from my school. I hosted the National Street Basketball Tour for Adidas, and I was offered a record deal by East West Records. I'm saying all of that to highlight that I've always enjoyed doing a lot of things and had the energy to do so. However, despite the fact that I've always enjoyed a life full of action and laughter, I found myself completely burned out a few years ago, not being able to get off the couch and not knowing how to set one foot in front of another for a while. Let me tell you real quick what led up to that. I worked a lot of hours and my kids were very young at the time. I got up early and worked until dinner and worked some more after my kids went to bed. This went on for a couple of years until I was completely burned out. Things got so bad that I lost all my energy for my life that I was normally always excited about, and I couldn't even muster up the motivation to do the smallest things. Ultimately, I sought out some help. However, it felt like nobody at the time had great tools and resources that were helpful to me. Ultimately, I came across a book by Martin Seligman that talked about learned helplessness, which ultimately gave me some insights to what was going on with me. And eventually, I was able to set one foot in front of another again and reboot my systems. And before we jump into the first point, do me a quick favor, subscribe to this channel and drop the video a like, as this will help me continue the conversation with you. Vielen Dank. Number 1, understanding where you are. So to save you time and pain, let's look at the first thing that you need to understand and tackle. Really, the first question you should ask yourself is, why are you here? Is it stress, a lack of purpose, or external factors? Identifying the root cause is crucial. So grab a journal and write down what's bugging you. One of the things that comes up often is that after a long day of work, we are too burned out or too unmotivated to take an extra step to work on something or do something that we care about. Instead, we self-medicate with food or alcohol and entertainment. I'm not saying that any of these things are bad by themselves, but when it becomes your coping mechanism, it can lead you to being stuck in a rut, and developing an awareness for that is key. Point 2, connecting with your carefree self. Now that you know where you're at, it is important to assess your energy levels. How do you feel, and what are you currently doing? Let's assume for a moment you're on the couch. You can barely drag yourself to work, and after work, you don't have the energy to do anything else. Your dishes are piling up in the kitchen, your fridge is empty, your bathtub crusty. You cannot even remember the last time you cleaned your house, and you're ordering food at home. I'm exaggerating, of course, but you get the drift. Then it's time to figure out what motivated you and what brought you joy in the past. For some of us, it's activities like shooting hoops, playing tennis, or salsa dancing. For others, it's playing an instrument, reading, or creating art. These are obviously just a few examples, and if none of that vibes with you, just look at a few things you enjoyed doing when you were a little more carefree. The reason why you want to do this is thoughts create feelings. Feelings create behaviors, and behaviors reinforce thoughts. So in order to get off the couch, you need to find an easy access point to jump on the train of change. And this is typically speaking an activity you enjoy. When you're worn down from work and from a long day, going to the gym and flexing for an hour and a half or 2 is most likely not going to happen. However, going for a walk with a friend or going and meeting a friend in a cafe is something most of us can motivate to do even when we're exhausted. Finding 1 or 2 things that sound like fun and doing them is key to getting out of a rut. Which brings me to the next point. Point 3, schedule things and build a plan. There's so much research that shows that when we write things down, we are more likely to achieve them. But how can this help when we are stuck in a rut? First of all, We really don't want to overwhelm ourselves or exhaust ourselves further when we are already in a vulnerable state. However, writing 1 or 2 things down that we are looking forward to is something that most of us can get accomplished. Also, there's a ton of research that shows if we are doing an activity together with somebody, like a friend, that activity becomes a lot easier to do and we are a lot more likely to go through with it. So one of my recommendations would be to find a friend to do your activity with and to schedule that activity on a calendar so both of you have a mutual understanding of when and where to do it. Now that that's checked off the list, you're beginning to take a few small steps in the right direction. Try to make a plan for the week and what you'd like to do and what you would like to get done. Start with easy and go to harder as the week progresses. One power tip is couple challenging activities with rewards. Let's say you manage to clean the kitchen and you really enjoy reading. Then reward yourself with a chapter in your favorite book. Over time, you'll be able to incorporate more challenging things in your schedule again. But remember, be gentle with yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you found this helpful and you'd like to learn more about priming your mindset for success, then check out this 3-part video series I did with Coach Tony Drake. I think you get a kick out of it. Und bitte, 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 liebe Leute, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace.